Welcome back to Michigan Central for this morning's edition of Flashpoint. This is the result, and going forward will have to be the result of a public-private partnership. We've talked about the private side with Ford Motor Company and Bill Ford. Now let's move to the public side and my conversation with Detroit Mayor Mike Duggan. Mayor, from your remarks, you are clearly very cognizant of the long-running connection between the city and the company, Ford.
There's no doubt about it. And I've talked about the fact that when Henry Ford built the Model T plant in 1909, the city of Detroit did the first mile of paved road anywhere in the world on Woodward Avenue between 6 and 7 Mile. We have been working with the auto industry for a long time to put their new inventions on the road in a safe way. And we're very excited now that the inventions of the 21st century, they may be self-driving buckets that take your dinner to your house, or they may be any number of others. We're going to expedite the review and approval to make sure they can be implemented safely.
It's kind of hard to miss the poetry of the fact that this used to be such a hub of transportation. 1913, I guess, when it was originally built, and that this many years later, it's trying to again be, in fact, much bigger than it ever was before.
Well, you know, the train station was Bill Ford's idea. This is his vision. His family at one point lived in Corktown, as did my family at one point, and he knows how much this used to mean to the city. But he also wanted an iconic site that could attract the talent from around the world, and I think he has accomplished it with this renovation.
You're creating this zone, and this comes up every time that a special zone is created with special rules, special guidance for. It seems to point out that why shouldn't we be revolutionizing areas everywhere? Why do we have to if we have to create special exceptions? It seems to point out flaws in our policy elsewhere.
Oh, I don't think so. You're seeing a whole industry that has never been invented. Self-driving vehicles are coming. Right now, they're starting with coolers to basically drive themselves down the street to bring you dinner. Okay. Well, there's no rule for how coolers can operate by themselves in the street. The inventors who come up with these things, we need an area to put in a set of rules where it's done safely, work out the bugs, and then have it spread to the rest of the city and ultimately the rest of the country. But that's why we call it an innovation zone. We'll have special safety protocols in this area so that inventors can test out their products in a safe and limited way.
From the very start, you've talked a lot about making sure that Detroiters in particular, Michiganders in general, but that there's a local flavor to what's happening here, local benefit. What does it mean to have Google come in talking about computer science for high schoolers?
You know, you talk to our young people, and we have enormous talent, very smart, have not had the opportunity through our school system to get the advantages of some wealthy or other areas of the country. And what Google is coming in and doing is providing computer science training with the best trainers in the world so that Detroit teenagers will get a head start. You know, people don't know the story. Bill Gates had one of the very few high schools that had a computer. He had a huge advantage over the rest of the world, even though he was very successful himself. What Google's going to do is bring that kind of advantage to the kids of the city of Detroit.
One thing that I find kind of extraordinary, I guess it's certainly best for Detroit. I don't know if it's the best for Ford, but the Ford is willing to say that this is not just our campus now. This is not just our hub, that they're kind of creating an open, almost an open source campus for lots of other brands, companies to get involved with. Good for you, but kind of an extraordinary thing from Ford, isn't it?
Well, usually you see disruption in industry. A 100-year-old company gets displaced by an upstart. We've seen it so many times. What Bill Ford is saying is everybody out there who's got the latest camera to help a self-driving car, the latest technology to get a better battery, whoever is out there with their idea, you don't have to give up your own ownership of your company. You can come here, collaborate with other people, get to test it out, and he believes Ford will be stronger collaborating with private inventors and companies, then I think he'll prove to be right.
Lastly, on this topic, the idea of a public-private partnership, to some people, it's easy for things to get a little slippery there, that these can be a real challenge for them to remain transparent, for both sides to be, for these to be win-wins. What do you think are what would you say is your guideline for making a public-private partnership work?
I look at somebody like J.P. Morgan Chase that put $150 million into this city, and they said, we can come in here, we can get a quick and honest answer, and we put money in, it leads to results. That's what these private companies are looking for. And when you come in with your new invention, we're going to evaluate it for safety, we're going to evaluate it for legality, and we're going to make sure that you can implement it here in an efficient way. And that's a competitive advantage for the city of Detroit. To have Mary Sheffield here supporting this, we're delivering a message you don't see in a lot of places in the country. City government is functional, and it's going to support innovators.
I don't think you'll enjoy this question, but when you said that Bill Ford told you, I need the Illiches to treat me fairly, and you need to help, and then he said, I need the Maroons to treat me fairly, and you need to help, there seems to be a lot of subtext in that.
Oh, I don't think so. Again, think about what you're dealing with. You're talking about a private company who's trying to figure out how to navigate a system. I can go back to that stadium deal. Mike Ilitch had a deal to build his own stadium and have that entire area to himself. What it took for the Illiches to say, we're going to give up half that land and share it with Ford, it was an extraordinary act of community leadership. And what Bill was saying was, we're going to need help in this conversation. I thought it was totally appropriate. And I remember the day I told Mike Ilitch, how would you think about half the land going to the Lions? He said, you're kidding me. And by the time I showed him what we were doing, he said, this is the right thing for Detroit. Our family is in. That's the kind of thing that we've been very fortunate to have. And the Illiches have been phenomenal. And we're seeing the Maroons become far more supportive corporate citizens.